Cole,
God.
pleasure to have you on here, sir. We've been trying to get this done, and I'm so glad that we're able to finally get
Thank
together and do this.
Yeah, me too. I'm sorry for all the mishaps and the hubbub and stuff.
We all got lives, Cole. We all got stuff going on. I don't take any offense to it. I'm just glad that we're doing it now, you know?
Yeah, same, same. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But first things first, what made you want to start making music? What was the first inclination that, oh yeah, I gotta start doing this?
You know, I like my parents always like loved and kind of like played music around the house. And so like, like for example, like I remember being like 3 and like my dad playing me that album The Mollusk by Ween, and
Sure.
like what like listening to the album, and it's a CD. I think it wasn't even an album. We didn't have records growing up. It was like a CD with like, and I remember like putting the face of that CD to the music too, and being kind of like intrigued but also totally freaked out because that album cover is really scary for like a 3-year old. But I just think like stuff like that had an influence at an early age. And then I got for Christmas I got my first drum kit when I was 6, and I actually didn't really like it. And then like a year, or like I played it a little bit but not that much, and then a year later I was like on guitar, and I think that's how it all started.
Wow. So I mean, 3 is a vivid. You vividly remember listening to that Ween album.
Yeah, I just remember it in the distance, but I remember it because like it's like every time I hear that song, the song is Pink Eye on My Leg, and it's got like a very distinct uh there's this noise that's like halfway through the album, or halfway through the song, where it's just like it's obviously one of them going into the mic just going like, oh, like adding this really low voice. It's just like, oh, and then there's the image of like the weird, it's if you look at it, it's like a weird like sea creature mutant thing, like a combination of all these different sea creatures in one. And it's just like, I remember being 3 years old and just being like, you know what I mean? Like hearing the voice in my head and then looking at the picture and just, what So, like, I think that kind of, yeah, like, it hit, it was visceral. It hit like a, I don't know, something deep in my psyche or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I mean, so your parents were pretty privy to music on their own. They're kind of showing you stuff early on.
Totally. My dad in particular put me on to like a lot of, still like some of my favorite music today. But he like they've yeah, they definitely have showed me so much stuff, and to the point where too I can still come back to my parents and be like, all right, I've got an album for you guys, or like, you know what I mean, like you know we kind of you know we kind of keep it going. um, yeah,
And they're
and
they're receptive to what you're bringing to the table as well.
yeah, totally. It's like we all kind of like, we all kind of share like what we're listening to, which is pretty cool. Every time I go back, because they're just in San Francisco too, so every time I go back, um, I'm always like, all right, you guys, you ready for this? You know what I mean, or something. And then yeah, I don't know. Now my parents have a record player again too, and so like, I don't know. There's my dad has all these old records that he like just never. I think he hasn't listened to in like a long time, and he's kind of like bringing it back. So it's cool. We get to have a whole like, album sharing, and like I don't know. I guess I'm more in touch with the newer scene of music. But like still they'll, you know what I mean, still sometimes I'll be like, oh, I've never heard of that. And then like interesting, that sounds pretty good, and it's like some new band that like my parents found and I didn't. So yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Now, was that the main mode of listening to music when you were a kid, or was it CDs and then they reverted back to records?
Yeah, it was CDs. Like I don't remember ever having a record player growing up, but we had CDs, and then the iPod came out when I was like 9 or something, or like 8 or something like that. And then I got my own iPod when I was 10. And so it's like once the iPod was around, um then it was like downloading music off of LimeWire, and like actually I remember that being a thing. Like I had like music saved on like an old computer that like I used to use. Like just like in like the files in on the desktop or whatever,
Sure.
right? Or like early iTunes library. It was like that kind of stuff. Like we'd download stuff off of LimeWire, and then we'd either like listen to it on an iPod or like on the computer or something. So
Wow.
it was all like digital. And then yeah, now we've kind. My dad has this collection of records that he's had since he was like young too, though, and he just I don't know. We never had a working record player, and so only now they got he got the setup or whatever. Him and my mom got the setup working again, and they've started listening to records. So
They're back at it.
back
They
at it again
they
with
took a
the white
hiatus,
bands.
but they're back.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly.
And you said that this is in San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you start making music on your own, with your own kind of ideas and whatnot?
That was also I was pretty young. Like I really like loved and took to the guitar when I was like yeah, I mean I guess I started playing when I was 7. Um and uh and then like I remember after that like I had like a nice community of like friends, like homies that like we would all play music together. Actually, I had a really tight knit group of friends growing up that all played music, and so like I remember starting bands and stuff when we were like 11 or something, you know what I mean? Like we'd all get together for like a sleepover, and then we'd like, you know what I mean, kind of have band practice too or something. And so yeah, I remember like writing like kind of like writing like riffs and songs with my friends when we were like that age.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, some kids are fucking sucked into their phones nowadays, but no,
You
not
know.
you. Let's
Right.
create something.
Yeah, I didn't get a cell phone until I was 12. but but also too, cell phone versus iPhone it was addicting back then too, but I think way less addicting than the iPhone. So
Right.
I almost feel bad for kids today, like the cell phone was kind of like the once the iPhone came, I feel like it's way harder to not, be sucked into it, and Instagram and all that. But yeah, I definitely feel glad that I had some sort of distance from this whole, you know, uh so, whatever the intense technological network that we have now. When I was a child, I think that was good for my brain. So
I think it's good for every child to not be
yeah.
sucked
Yeah.
into, but yeah, it's a crazy time. How do you feel about people being on their phone when you're playing live? Does that affect how you play? Or
That's a good question. I don't know. I feel kind of mixed emotions maybe. Like I don't know. I just played a show like not too long ago, and uh and my girlfriend Lena was like took a video of someone taking a video of me because she thought it was funny, and I thought it was funny too. It's like, you just see like I don't know. It's like and like yeah, I don't know. I've taken videos at concerts and then like forgotten that I took videos at those concerts, and then like years later like somehow I'll stumble upon it, just like scrolling through old stuff and then being like, whoa dude, I forgot that I even went to this concert, like that was cool. It's kind of like taking a picture or something at a concert, but like I don't know, it does like the whole like you know gotta get a video for Instagram thing, like it can be I don't know, you can do it in a way that's not annoying, but there is like an annoying way to do it where people are just like more entranced with the video of the concert than the actual concert. And I don't know, that like it's another one of those, like, you kind of can't blame people for living in the world that we live in, but at the
Right.
same time, like, I don't know. It at the same time, it's not like this is a necessarily a better world than like the world of no phones at shows. I don't know. So
Yeah, it's an interesting time because I mean I don't think you can go to any show. I don't think I've been to a show in the last couple of years and I didn't see a fucking phone out. But
right,
and again, it's like it's not like I'm not one of those people, especially if I see somebody from the podcast, it's like, yeah, hey, that's
right,
you
uh-huh,
gotta
yeah,
you gotta support. But
yeah. It's true, and you're always kind of happy to see that someone took a video of you playing, like after the fact. Like you go on Instagram and you get a shout out, and then you repost it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I don't take part in that whole world, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's a good, like, I believe a lot in remembering things, and and I think it's good, like, to have a little bit of video so that you can remember the feeling, or remember like what, maybe what it was like. But like, if you're, or I don't know, it's also cool to document a whole set, a whole show,
it
like,
is if you're actually filming it, yeah, and it's
right,
nice to see it. Yeah.
right, like, it's like documentation is a good thing, but it's like, you just don't want the documentation aspect to be more important than the actual experience, I guess, or maybe.
Right, you don't want it to hinder it.
Right, yeah. Or maybe it's like, if, you know what I mean, if, like, if someone doesn't record a show because they were so enthralled with whatever was happening on stage, like, I'm also very into that too. It's kind of like, I guess you know, it's not necessarily bad, but it could get out of hand, the technological thing. You know what I mean?
Sure, but I think more people are realizing it's like I don't need to document every single piece of this,
Yes,
at a show,
exactly.
which is good.
Yeah, I think people are coming back around. They're starting to get stressed out by just the constant involvement, in like this, and craving just sort of like an experience that, maybe you might forget, or you might, like, or you might not quite remember well, or just, I don't know, feels, there's no middleman, there's no thing in between you and the experience. It's just you and the experience. I think people are craving that feeling a little bit more. So yeah,
Which is good.
which is good.
Yeah. I don't care what you have to say about it, Cole. I think it's good. Okay, and you can go against me on that. When did you start, or when did you join Kamikaze Palm Tree? When did that kind of begin? Was that up in San Francisco?
Yeah, so that was, myself and Dylan Hadley, who's a drummer, singer, and like we basically started the band just as a duo. Um, and we've kind of written the music together, like, ever since, um, and like on the newer stuff, there's definitely contributions from other people, and we've gotten some other, ideas and influences in there, but it's always kind of been like Dylan and I's, like, sort of, are like at the core of it, I guess. But when we were in San Francisco, which is where we started the band, we started off, and it was just a duo. It was just um, guitar and drums, um, and it was like it was a lot noisier. Uh, yeah, yeah. We just started playing around the Bay Area. Um, yeah,
And what year are we talking about around that this was started?
20. I think this is 2015. This is like right after we graduated high school, actually. So it was we our first concert was like our kind of like graduation, like senior concert or whatever, and like Like, dude, like I remember like I wore my graduation robe uh to the thing
Slick.
because it
It's
was
a
just
good
like
move. I
white.
like it.
It was just this white robe that was kind of like, and then like Dylan like drew like a paper mask like just on a sheet of like printer paper. She drew like a paper mask, and then like burned eye holes like with her cigarette, and like burned like two holes for the eyes and like one for the mouth. So it's just like just like this weird little like I don't know. It was just like a paper mask tied with strings. Um, and uh, and we yeah, and that was our first show. We just played like one song as the senior showcase, like And it's funny. We went to like a performing arts high school too in Oakland, and it's kind of like it's like look what we learned at school, It's like,
This is it. This
it's
is
like
this is 4 years right here.
right, exactly. And it's just like yeah, it's just like the opposite of jazz band or something. But
Yeah, more avant-garde.
yeah, 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 exactly. It's just like way noisier, yeah. But so that was 2015. Um,
How did you feel after that performance? Did you feel like, oh shit, this is great, or what was going through your mind? I mean, after graduating too, it's a big accomplishment as well. Doing killing two birds same night.
that's right, that's right. A night to remember. Um, it was like, yeah, I thought it was I I remember feeling really good about it. Yeah, I think it felt like the start of something good, and then we kind of just kept playing shows. We had some more stuff that we used to play all these like renegade shows or sorry, renegades. I don't know, it's like sound just these like DIY shows, but like sorry, renegade, that's so corny, but like I
No,
don't
I
know.
like it. That's like a Bruce Springsteen, you know?
Right, right, uh-huh. What's up?
Yeah, the
Like
boss. Yeah.
right. You know. We just used to throw these like generator powered shows like just in like public parks and stuff like that, like in and around the Bay Area. Um, and we were like doing a bunch of those, just following all of that. So yeah, it
And
felt like the start of something good, I think.
was that what was kind of going on in the scene? Were other people doing that as well at that time, or
Yeah, we actually fell into we started playing. We fell into playing with a bunch of other kind of like local bands, like some friends of ours, kind of, and then we just I don't know, we just started like meeting a bunch of new people. But there's a pretty it felt like a pretty good scene in SF in the Bay Area at the time that we were doing it. It was just a lot of like I mean in SF too, a lot of like the small venues were still like going strong or just kind of like not as like weird or like choked up as they are now. Um, so there's the venue thing, but like and that kind of cultivated the scene, but also there was just a lot of we I don't know, we just used to play a lot of these like shows like at like the Sutro Baths Cave and like uh one of our favorite locations was the Fort Funston bunker. It was like the old military bunkers on the coastline in San
right?
Francisco, like on the west side. Um, and yeah, they would have it's just like these like bunkers that are open to the public. They're just kind of like you know blown out and covered in sand and stuff. And uh, we used to just like haul a generator like up the sandy hill, you know what I mean? Like a mile walk or something like that. Like wait, you know what I mean? And all the gear. We used to do it all the time, dude. Like I actually don't know how we had the energy to do that, but we used to do like 3 shows a week or something, and it was all just like these kind of, you know, like real, I guess, DIY situations you could say, but it was a lot of fun. We had and so everyone kind of knew each other and I don't know. It just felt like some sort of scene, you know.
You're making it yourself. Make your own scene. Do it yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hear
yeah.
that, kids at home? Do it yourself. Make your own scene.
There you
If
go.
there's no scene around you, go
Right.
play at the bunkers. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go. Seriously,
or at
yeah.
the parks.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. It was fun.
So
But
that hunger was there early on
yeah, I
for you
guess so.
guys.
I mean, I feel like it was an interesting thing because it felt like it wasn't like we're gonna try like as hard as we can to make these we have a vision for these shows and we're going to try as hard as we can to make them happen like all the time. It wasn't quite like I feel like if you try to do something like that now, it seems like it would feel like it takes a lot more effort, you know, and determination and drive and you know at this point in time. But back then it felt like everyone was kind of doing that sort of thing, like cave shows have been a thing for a while. The Sutro Bass Cave, like there's like a little it's if you guys have ever been to Sutro Bass, all you listeners out there, if you ever been to
You know, I'm big
so
over there, Cole. So
right,
yeah,
right.
the locals will get their hands on this one. Yeah, they'll
Yeah,
know.
yeah, you just
Let us know in the comments, please. Yeah.
right. Uh-huh. Thank you for subscribing. um uh, I don't know. You go out to Land's End and there's a cave at the end of it. Not to blow up the spot or anything, but there's like a cave down there, and there were shows happening there like all the time. It felt like, and then we kind of just expanded that idea and said, well, if we have a generator, we can play anywhere. So like, you know, then that's when the old bunkers started. Like we started to play in those. We played in like a couple parking lots. Another spot was the gazebo by Lake Merritt in Oakland. We somehow found out actually that there was just power there too. Like there's just like power strips, and so we would like show up or like outlets or something. So we would just show up and plug it in and start playing. Um, and
They wanted the show. They were asking for it. They said, "Hey, we got the stuff for you,
you're right.
please."
I know we didn't put the power there. You guys did. You know, we brought a generator. You know, but I guess we didn't even need it. It was um, yeah. It was a weird thing. Um, yeah, it was I don't know. Yeah, for a while that was like another good spot because also you could literally just like park on the street, you know what I mean, or whatever. Like you could kind of, or even just take the bus, take Bart there, and you just like walk to the lake, you know, which is where people already like hung out all the time, and then you just walk a little further down to the gazebo, and then there'd be like a show happening. There's like ducks and geese like all over there, you know, to the side and stuff. It was fun. Um, so yeah.
Were your parents attending these early shows like this? Were they supportive of it showing up?
Um, that's a good question. I think they didn't really come to those shows because I think they didn't want to like, I think they felt out of place, you know? Like, and I remember being like, no, like it would be cool if you guys were there. Like, there's no, you know what I mean? People's parents came to those shows like from time to time, you know, it wasn't like kids only, you know, like young people only, you know, sort of thing or whatever, just like whoever could come. But like, I don't know if they ever actually came to one of those. I think they just felt like it was also again like oftentimes kind of a trek, you know, or just like you have to walk a ways like in the dark, and I think they felt like they're too old for it or something. So the kind of thing
Understandable,
they would do,
understandable from
right? Yeah,
whoever's.
yeah, I get it. Maybe the kind of thing they would do when they were younger, but not now. So yeah. Um, but they came to like once we started playing small venues, they came to those shows, which is cool.
Was that a major step for the band to be like, all right, now we're actually getting inside somewhere. We're getting inside these smaller venues.
Yeah, totally. Actually, the first venue that ever gave us a show was Bottom of the Hill
Okay.
in Potrero Hill in San Francisco, and major like props, respect, love to Bottom of the Hill for like being the first venue that actually that like gave us a chance, and because we kind of had been a part of this like whole like generator powered scene. We had like a bunch of fans, and a bunch of bands that were also that we could like call up, like, so we set up a bill and stuff like that, and then people we knew actually came through and like bought tickets and stuff. um, and so I don't know, like we ended up doing pretty well the first time we ever got a show, but they were like the first ones who like took a chance on us. Like we hadn't really played. We had kind of played this other place called the Honey Hive Gallery, um, which is like, I mean, it's just a gallery, legendary spot.
Still though, inside, I mean, that's a
Right.
big, big step. I mean,
Right.
gazebo's good too, because
Right.
gazebo, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
and
Honey Hive was the next step.
got a little roof, and then you got walls. I mean, you're
Yeah, you're right.
moving up in the world.
Yeah, right. It's something like that. At least it has roof and walls. No, that place was sick too in its own right, but it's definitely is like a gallery. So,
Right.
Bottom of the Hill was the first proper small venue that we, or smaller. I guess you'd consider it a small venue, but like medium venue, I guess.
Medium,
Small
medium small. When you finally got into the to the bottom of the hill,
venue. Yeah,
did you feel like, all right, like we're finally kind of getting more legitimate, quote unquote?
it was really cool. I mean, like, I definitely saw some of my favorite shows in my life at Bottom of the Hill too. Like, I think like just like a couple years before, I had seen Deerhoof, and
Mm.
opening for them was this band LXMP, which was like also like really crazy. I like that show like kind of blew my mind, and I remember being in Bottom of the Hill and being like oh, turning around to like you know my friends and stuff like that, being like, what the like, what in the frick, like, this is awesome, and like you're right. And then just kind of like that was like the last time I was at Bottom of the Hill, and then like all of a sudden, oh, there we were, like, and that was definitely sick. Yeah, just because, yeah, I've seen a handful of really good shows there, and I've always kind of liked that venue. And so like, I don't know, it was cool to it was cool to it was cool to do that. Yeah, I think it did feel like a big step up. Like all of a sudden we're like, ooh. And then like if we ever played another venue, it was kind of like we could be like, yeah, we've played Bottom of the Hill, which is like, you know what I mean, uh, more reputable than or reputable than the Sutra Bass Cave, I guess.
There's different spots. Yeah,
Uh,
we've been around for a minute. Yeah, we've been
right.
playing in the bunkers and stuff, and
You're right, exactly.
bottom of the hill,
Uh-huh. The trenches. Yeah, we were
the
out of the
trenches.
trenches a little bit.
Were you at the high school graduation party? Because that was us. We
Right.
were there as well. Yeah, we're kind of staples now. We're
Uh,
getting into the scene.
yeah.
And so how far along was that in within Kamikaze Palm Tree's um uh origin? Was it kind of early on that you finally got a step into these different venues around town, or did it take a few years?
No, I think actually it was within like a year or something. So it wasn't, yeah, like from when we kind of like first started like writing music. It also, um, I had actually moved to Los Angeles for a little bit, right after high school, and then I came back up and moved back to the Bay Area. It was like I moved for just like a couple, like 8 months or something. Then I moved back. I ended up moving back up, and then that's when we really started playing. Um,
So did you only play the one show before moving to LA and then moving back?
I think we played a couple, and I kept coming back up here and there to like play a show, and then I'd go back down. Um, and so I think we played a couple. We probably played like three or four or something like that, and then finally I just moved back up, um, and then we really started playing in SF, and then shortly after that was when like we played at Bottom of the Hill. Yeah, is an interesting thing because it always felt like kind of like my heart. I left my heart in San Francisco. You know what I mean? I or something. I don't know. Like it just felt like that was more like where I was meant to be. You know, and so and Dylan was still there. She's just working too. You know, and we used to just like talk and stuff all the time, and 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 I would just come up here and I would come up here and there, and then finally I just came back up, and then this is like the second we came up, we started like playing like a ton of shows. So yeah, I think it was a very prolific time. Yeah.
And I mean, you live in LA now, though. You're back
Yeah.
down here.
Now we all we yeah now Dylan and I live in LA, um and the rest of the band is all here too. Yeah.
When did you guys decide? All right, we're leaving SF. We're gonna go down to LA.
Mm. Um. It it came like it was. It felt like a okay. Well, I think it was definitely a couple years later. It was like 3 years later. It felt like San Francisco's music scene was kind of shrinking, and everyone was moving elsewhere. Like everyone was moving to Los Angeles or like I don't know, New York or something like that, or I don't, like everyone was just like moving around, and actually a lot of people, I think actually mainly a lot of people, there's a big hiatus to LA, like, and so we kind of got the sense that like let go San Francisco's scene is still alive, but and there are still also there's definitely a scene still there, but it just felt like it was we were playing to the same people and like doing the same kind of shows and needed a change of scenery, and then a lot of people that we knew just booked it down south, so we were like, I guess it's time to move to Los Angeles, and then at that time too, we had known some people down there too, and so it felt like kind of like the right move. Like we had to like shift our whole existence down south a little bit. Yeah, and that was cool.
Did that change things for you guys in terms of sound or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it definitely did. I mean, at least speaking for myself, when I got here, I noticed that like everyone's like kind of just like the level of like professionality,
Yeah.
like the level of like kind of like it's like even like
Legitimacy, even.
yeah, it's like even like the crummy like pop rock pop punk
Name
band.
some names right now, Cole. Name some names.
Right,
Names
yeah.
we.
Right. Felt like even like the band like some band that was really random that I didn't like that much, like at least like they were like tight and rehearsed and like they're and like everyone's tone was really good. Like I noticed like everyone's like guitar tone and stuff was like they just had like working gear and like like that was a big thing when we first started playing as KPTs. Like it's like my amp and pedal board setup used to cut out like almost like every set. Like it was actually so stupid looking back on it. I kind of can't believe like, but it was just like it was just always like something would happen or something would start like or like just like cut out, and I'd be down like fixing it as we're playing, and so there's always like this chaotic element that was like cool for a while, but it's also kind of like it's like I don't know. I just like started, I was just like, well, let me just make all my equipment work and like sound good, but it's just like a level of like there's like a level of like kind of like cleanliness and like professionalism that like that LA has that feels kind of like next level, which is cool. I found that to be super inspiring, and so I started like, kind of honing in on my tone a little bit better and stuff like that. Not just in like gear, but in like the way I play too.
Sure. Do you think eventually you would have reached that mindset even if you haven't or hadn't moved to LA? Do you think it was just a certain amount of time would pass until you're like, all right, let me get things right here, make sure that nothing's cutting out or nothing's sounding what it shouldn't sound like?
That's a really good question, and it's hard to say. I'm not totally convinced. I mean, I think like moving to Los Angeles feels like kind of like the right path in my brain. You know what I mean? Like it was like maybe I wanted to, you know, go a little cleaner and take it to the next, or you know what I mean? Just like kind of like just shape it a little bit. Chisel away, like have it not be so, rough and clunky. Um, and so naturally because of that, like, my life drove me towards Los Angeles. I don't know, you could argue that. um i
I
i
would I would argue personally, Cole, that it sounds like you left your heart in LA truly because you came back. You get on saying, "Oh, I had to get out to SF." No, no, no. But you live
uh-huh.
down in
Right.
LA now. Yeah,
Yeah. It
that's
is
what I think.
true. I do remember feeling like one day I'll move back to LA. Ever since I left, I was like, one day I'll come back, because I think there's a good thing going on down there. But it's true. I will say that like it's just like that kind of stuff where like I don't know, like just the more like the rough sound, you know what I mean, of like things is just like not. I feel like that's more akin to like the kind of stuff you hear in the Bay Area, but like Bay Area people are like, also like have this like kind of passion, which is really good. And LA, it's just like a slightly different thing. It's just a little more like refined, and people are still passionate too, but like there's just yeah, there's like
Difference of energy. It seems like kind of
yeah, yeah,
coming
yeah,
coming
yeah,
out of
totally,
the
yeah.
scenes.
Yeah, it's like, you know what I mean? Like you can still be a cool person if you don't get up and shave your face in the morning every day. But
Listen here, kids. It's true.
right. But like, also, man, who's mad at a clean shave?
No, not I. I just I've been kind of lacking as of
I
two
mean,
2 or 3 days. Yeah.
too. Me too. I definitely didn't shave before this.
We're just matching, Cole. That's it. That's all it is.
Right. They say geniuses think alike.
That's right. They certainly do. This is it. This is example of.
Right.
Now when you moved down to LA, was the first release already put out? Did you guys already record that and release that, or was that put out down here when you were moved to Southern California?
Oh, let me remember. It was already out. We had just recorded it in the Bay Area and finished it up, and released it in August of 2019. And then I moved November 2019. Dylan moved December 2019. So yeah, it had just come out. The Good Boy. You're talking about Good Boy,
Yes,
right?
sir. Good boy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that one had just come out. So we came to LA with like a fresh album, I guess you could say. Um,
Coming to town with something new. Yeah, you gotta bring something.
Yeah, 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 and that was really good. We started playing shows like pretty right off the bat with that, which is really good. So yeah,
And what did was that like a big turning point as well? That first release of Good Boy having something tangible out.
yeah, that was. I remember. I mean, we all like. Well, so we have technically on Bandcamp, like we have like another EP, and we have a live album from a radio show that we did in the Bay Area, Calex, and those are both still up. Um, but it was all like kind of like more home recording or like yeah like um, broadcast system style, and we recorded some other stuff. Um, but the the I will say that the Good Boy was our first. It felt like it was like our most hi-fi recording. Like we recorded at Tiny Telephone in San Francisco, um, with Spencer Hartling and Sammy Perez was mixing it as well. And those two run a studio called along with Danielle. I don't actually know Danielle's last name. I'm sorry, Danielle, but
We didn't forget about you though,
Sammy and
Danielle.
Spencer, they all have a studio in Altadena now called Wiggle World, which is awesome. Um,
So
but
you brought them down south as well. That's what you're
like,
saying.
I think it was part of the general hiatus. I think I think I don't know, they had eyes to have their own studio too, and so I think yeah, they were on the same train that we were. So yeah, but like yeah, it was just recording with those guys, and in that studio was the first ever like whoa, this is like really like nice and clean sounding and like hi-fi, and it also like just the way we recorded it was totally different tonally than like stuff that we had done before. Like it again, before it was always very noisy, and like I I personally, I mean, I think both of us, Dylan and I, tried to take up as much space as possible because like we were a duo, right? So I
Sure.
was playing like more stuff on guitar and like more effects and just trying to fill out the sound as much as I could with one, you know, melodic chordal instrument. And in turn too, Dylan was like, her beats were like kind of like complex and stuff, and then she would sing, and and so we had, but it was it was this kind of like duo thing previously, and it was much more noisy. And then like once we started making Good Boy, I think the sound shifted to being a little cleaner, um, or I mean, I don't know, just really just like hi-fi. Like I listen to it and it's still dirty, but it's just less like, you know, chaotic, like cacophonous sound, you know what I mean? And more is like, I don't know.
Just more just straightened out a little bit
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah, yeah,
just cleaned up,
refined, yeah.
still there but
Uh-huh.
refined, yeah.
And the other thing that was interesting was Spencer kind of like steered us in the like like for making the studio recording. Spencer steered us in this direction of um, he wanted to add synth bass on a lot of stuff because we were missing. We just had guitar and drums, so we didn't have any bass player for the longest time. And so he was like, "Well, let's add some synth bass to fill out the sound." And it ended up being kind of the third instrument. So we were all like recording like a little bit of like synth and like extra percussion. Like we just started getting more into like a studio, like let's complete the picture sort of studio mindset. And I think when we first went in, or at least I was thinking like, we have to make this work as a two piece so that when we play live, it doesn't sound like,
Vastly different than what
yeah,
is on the
yeah, you know
record.
what I mean? Like we don't, it doesn't sound like, so I was like, okay, but we shifted mindset, and then we ended up, that's when we kind of introduced a third member into the band, a keyboard player, um, playing synth bass. And so that I think marked like the turn of like everything being a little more like hi-fi, and also having a third voice in there, the bass.
Right. And that was before you guys, right before you guys moved, you guys were kind of shifting into having someone else within the band as well.
Yeah, well, right, and again, it was kind of because of what we did in the studio. It was so, and we recorded that. I think we recorded that album like December 2018 or something like that, and then we finished mixing in the next coming months, and then we released it on Mudguts Records in New York, which I think is not active anymore, but um, yeah, we released it through our friend Mark Cross, who rules, has an awesome tattoo parlor too, and then like um, uh, but yeah, and so then I think it's sort of like we finished it in like February or something, and then it came out in August, and then we just it was like at that time we were thinking of like moving to LA, so I feel like everything kind of like lined up like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a big change.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally.
Now, when you did get to LA, was the first order of business like, hey, we got to find more people to kind of fill out at least this third spot that we've carved out with the new recording and what you guys wanted to do sonically?
Yeah. We actually were playing with a third member before we moved to LA too. Like we were trying out the new songs and stuff like that, kind of like on our own before we like because that's always a little bit how we do it is we write some songs and then we kind of try them out live here and there, you know, and like and then sometimes that gets it tight and then we go into the studio with like tunes sort of like written and more ready to go, or at least like historically that's how it was. So once we started, it was sort of like simultaneous. Like once we started recording with the synth bass and stuff like that, and then we had like the finished parts, we're like, okay, well we should get someone to do synthesizer, and yeah, and so we actually we had someone in the Bay Area, our friend Adam, playing synth, and and then when we moved to LA, it just like got difficult because he lived in the Bay Area and then we were down there, and so that's when we started.
Yeah, how did it feel, Cole? How did it feel to be the person away that you needed somebody there? Yeah, the roles flipped.
Uh huh.
Sheesh, man.
Right.
That's what you get, Cole, for putting everybody in
Uh-huh.
that situation.
You know, I never thought about it like that, but yeah, the wheel of karma strikes again. No,
She's coming back around.
uh-huh, right. Yeah, as Justin Timberlake would say.
Right, right. One of maybe LimeWire's most downloaded songs,
Yeah,
perhaps.
totally, totally.
That guy was big, and then he kind of, I don't know. I guess he became an actor. I don't know. You don't
Yeah.
really hear from him very often. I don't hear anybody saying like, oh, Justin Timberlake's playing Las Vegas or something like that.
Uh-huh. I don't really know. That's a good point. I don't know what Justin Timberlake is up to. He had a good album a while ago, like actually when I first moved to LA, called the 2020 Experience, and I was actually kind of into it, you know. But you know, Suit and Tie, like, you
Oh
know,
yeah, that was a big one.
yeah, that was like that felt like his last big hurrah or something, and now I don't really know where he's at, but I might be tapped out too. So,
He's sitting on all that cash that he made from those songs, I think.
right. Right, he's probably enjoying his life. He's enjoying himself, you know,
Right.
having a great time. So,
Would you open up for Justin if he asked you to?
probably, yeah, probably. It'd be,
That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to
yeah,
see.
that would be cool. I kind of like that stuff, like opening up for someone. Yeah, I mean, I think we probably definitely would do it. Um, you know,
Yeah, I think it's neat to have two different kind of sounding bands on the same
yeah,
bill, or three different, whatever it may
yeah,
be. Because you draw more of a crowd that is familiar with these different kinds of sounds and stuff. That's cool. I like
yeah.
that.
Thank you. Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, yeah, I wonder what Justin Timberlake's audience would or how they would respond to us, but
I think well.
I think some people would be into it for sure. Yeah. I hope, you know.
This is like one way to find out. And Justin,
Yo,
let's
if
get
you're
this going,
listening.
man. Let's do this.
Yeah, we maybe we'll drop a line in his DMs.
Yeah. We'll because he listens, so we'll get this on board. Yeah,
Yeah.
set up the tour.
Right.
So anyways, you moved to LA. You got a brand new release, and the tonally things are shifting. Did you find it difficult to break into the scene from going from what San Francisco was doing to what LA was doing?
No, actually, I think it was again like we kind of moved because it felt like a natural thing, and like I was saying before too, we knew a bunch of people down here. We actually had a bunch of friends, and so it felt pretty easy to just like start doing stuff, um, and uh, and uh, like yeah, it was like this kind of thing where I feel like we kind of wouldn't have moved to LA if it didn't feel like we didn't just go out on a limb and like let's see what happens. You know, we kind of moved there and you know with a purpose sort of. So I think it felt like pretty easy to tap in a little bit, you know.
You were on a mission. Sure, I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A stolen car mission.
Right, right, right. Yeah. That's why everybody moves to LA on a stolen car mission.
Right.
Obviously. That's yeah.
Yeah.
Modus operandi around here.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Now during this sonic change within the band, what did you guys feel, oh, we should add more people into this as well?
Well, so we started playing with Sophia as the keyboard player. Um and uh And that was kind of cool because Sophia plays like two keyboards at once.
Riemann Zarek style. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, she's like a, a wizard on the keys. So it was cool, like there's that kind of like contrapuntal thing, and then I think I don't know, we were kind of just like blind, like just I don't want to say blindly charging forward, but we were just like going like just playing more shows and seeing what was happening. And then the pandemic hit, and then over the pandemic, we started writing a new album, and that was later to be Mint Chip, and Mint Chip uh, was like just like a totally different recording method. So like I don't know, we just ended up layering and adding a bunch of stuff, and then we ended up adding bass guitar too, and then that's when we brought, kind of to represent the songs or to play the songs live. Then we brought Josh in to play bass with us, and then that just became what it is now. It's like bass, keyboards, guitar and drums and vocals all around. Yeah. So I guess like to answer your question, like we've always kind of like based our like number of members and roles like off of our yeah what like
The albums, the
recording that
releases,
we
yeah.
end up like experimenting in the studio kind of. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really, really interesting. Um kind of looking at it now from way back, the first show of just playing you and Dylan playing
Yeah.
for the graduating class
Right.
of 2015. And looking at it now, does it kind of surprise you where you're at? Uh like does it kind of baffle you, like, whoa, we're fucking we've come a long way?
Yeah, it does. I mean, right, when you think of it in context like that, I think it does. Like I never expected I would have never expected us to go in this sort of direction when we first started. I totally was like I kind of assumed that we'd be like a noise rock band forever. We're not like not forever. I just like did, you know what I mean? I wasn't thinking about like, oh, I have plans for like how the sound will, change over time. I just, it's just sort of like wherever we're at in the present moment. But yeah, it is interesting too, like Dylan and I too, like our tastes and stuff change pretty like a good amount too, and I feel like that's one thing that's really inspiring about like writing and working with Dylan is that like she she's always kind of like interested in like something new, so I don't know, it's like with each new album it's like there's like a totally I don't know, there's like a giant shift of like we're trying something new, so it feels very fresh all the time. And I think that's something that like our younger selves probably just couldn't predict. I mean, I remember feeling like when we first started playing too, I was like, oh wow, like people actually like our band, people actually want to hear this. It felt like we were receiving some sort of good feedback, and so that kind of like felt like, okay, well maybe we should keep going with this, like, and then it just, that, you know, give and take just kept going, and then now it's become like a thing where like it really has, it's almost become a greater platform for experimentation, the way it is now. It's like we can kind of do anything we want, really.
Right, and that's where you want to be as any artist. You don't want to be pigeonholed into like, oh, you only make this one kind of music. Like, no,
Right,
it's
right.
always evolving.
Right. Totally. And there's definitely people that'll be like, dude, like I wish you guys would play those old, you know what I mean? Like there's a ton of people that are like, whatever happened to that thing or something, that old song. And like I do like the old songs too. Like I like them really as pieces of like almost like, just like timestamps or pieces of your memory. It's like nostalgic, I guess, to play old stuff and to hear like what, where your mind was at the time. Um, but I think that uh, I just think it's also there's like a lot of fans that like I feel like liked us for a certain thing, and then we started doing something else, and they weren't. I feel like they didn't like it as much, you know what I mean, and or they weren't totally with us. But who am I to say? Too, I ain't.
Yeah, comment it below. I mean,
Yeah,
if Cole's got it right or not.
right. Uh-huh, exactly.
How do your parents feel about the music that you're making? What's their feedback on it?
I think my parents are on the same page. I think they're into it. Yeah, there's like same like my dad too. Like, will sometimes be like, oh, like what you guys should play this song again, like from way back in the day. Which is also cool that like my parents even listen to or like know
They know the deep
bands,
cuts.
albums, or music. Like okay, that's awesome. Like that's a really I realize that's a rare and like pretty cool thing. But I think like I don't know. It's sort of like as like the more we start, I don't know, kind of surprising ourselves. I feel like with like what we come up with, like the more like it surprises everyone else too. And so I feel like sometimes my parents are kind of like, oh, like interesting, like I don't know, this one or something like that. Like I don't know, you guys used to be a lot heavier or something, like, and then it's like you start like getting it into your ear, and then they're kind of like, okay, no, but this is cool, or this is still kind of heavy in like a way, or it's like lighter, but it's still good, or it makes sense as a next step. I don't know, you know what I mean?
Right, right.
Yeah, they approve in general, which is an amazing thing. Thank you, mom and dad.
Um, what do you perceive for the next kind of move for Kamikaze Palm Tree sonically? Is it clear right now, or is it never clear until you guys start hashing stuff out?
It, well, I would say both are true. That it is right as of now, both are true. That it is never totally clear until we start like working on stuff and hashing it out. Like and even like you can have an idea of like a song, or something like that, and then we like, you know what I mean. But it's almost like I feel like it's never the songs, like those are never it's never like, oh, I've got a song, we bring it in or something like that. It's always like the songs that we like. It's always like when we get together and start doing stuff together, or like we have like a piece of a song or something, and then we just start building on it. That's when like the stuff kind of turns into what it is, you know what I mean? So it's never, I don't know, like, yeah, I feel like at least like expectations are kind of like almost not a thing, in my speaking from my experience. But at the same time, yes. So now we have started writing some stuff, and The vibe that we're going for is a lot more electronic. We're going in like the Midi world, uh, pretty deep.
Deep synth bass too. I'm assuming
Right.
that's it's gonna
Yeah,
play a part.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, we're just using like a lot of like we've been really inspired by um like a lot of like kind of like more like poppy stuff and like I don't know. We've been into Kate Bush too recently, and all her stuff is like really like all the textures and the sounds are really kind of like just like weird arrangements, and unconventional instrumentation and stuff like that. Um, so I don't know. It's cool. Like we got a MIDI guitar pickup and we've been using that a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you want people to take away from the music of Kamikaze Palm Tree? KP K yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, KPP. Well, no, KPT.
KPT. Yeah, you
You
got it.
said it you said it so much quicker earlier.
Yeah.
I was trying to be cool, man. I fucked it up. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. You'll get there,
I'll
man.
get there. I'm working on it.
Practice. Yeah. um, I think I want anyone to take away whatever they want from it. I know that's kind of a boring answer, but like, I mean, maybe there's some sort of like life to it that is like we try to make the music fun, you know? And so I don't know, I guess I would want someone to take away whatever I don't know, whatever they might from that, and that might be like having fun, or that might be like I don't know. I mean, we try to at least offer or to do something a little bit different too, or just that kind of feels like unique to like us. And so maybe hopefully you take away with a sound that is slightly different than something you might already know. That's maybe the ideal goal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it, Cole. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, Cole. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. But before I cut you loose here, I got some promo to do.
Ooh.
So, Kamikaze Palm Trees music is streaming everywhere, wherever you get your music. That's where you could find it. The people can find Good Boy everywhere as well, and they can go buy it at midheaven.com, right?
I think you can buy it on Bandcamp
Bandcamp too. All right,
as well.
good
Yeah.
deal. And you can buy the most recent album, Mint Chip, from dragcity.com, and you can find both releases at the Bandcamp. And you can stay up to date with news, shows, releases, and everything else by following them on Instagram. That's the best place, right?
Yeah, that's the stuff.
At Kamikaze Palm Tree, or through the website,
Yeah, totally.
kamikazepalmtree.com.
That's exactly right.
All right, awesome. Now, Cole, do we have anything else to promote before we sign off here? Right. So we didn't just take a break and come back, Cole. But is there any other shows that are coming up soon that we need to plug?
Well, yes, I would say the next thing we've got going on is we have a tour in June. We're going to be opening for supporting King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard for uh, their U.S. tour, excluding two dates, which is they're playing at Hollywood Bowl in L.A. Sorry, everyone. They're playing Boston Calling as well, and those are the only two we're not doing, but we're doing the rest of the tour. We're really excited for that.
Yeah, it's nice to see that you're supporting smaller artists. That's good, and
Yeah.
kind of bring them up. And where can people get those tickets at? Where's the best place?
So that's a good question, and actually, they might a lot of these places might be sold out already too. But I would just search, like, go to King Gizzard's like website, and they have ticket links there. We'll maybe we'll see about posting them on kamikazepalmtree.com, but our efforts might be futile. And
So if you can find some tickets, and that'll be linked below, and if there's any tickets left by the time that this comes out, go snag them because those can be good concerts.
yeah. We'll get the ticket link. It's gonna be good for sure.
It's gonna be great. That's gonna be an awesome
Yeah,
couple of shows there.
yeah, it's gonna be piping hot.
Definitely. Cole, you're the man. Thank you so much.
You're the
And
man. Thank you.
I'll
Thank
I'll
you.
I'll see you soon. All right.
Okay. All
All
right,
right.
dude.
Thank you, man.